What's up, guys? Here with the new video. This is an interview with Nate Bender. He's a, League of Legends player. He's pretty good at the video game. He's got some credible credentials, and here's the interview with him. So enjoy. So I assume your ultimate goal with League of Legends is to eventually become an LCS player?
Yeah, that's my goal. This split, I wanted to join Academy, but because of the changes to the scouting ground selection system, I wasn't able to go since I was in Korea when the process started.
After playing in Korea and North American solo queue, do you think there's any difference in the player culture or like the quality of the games?
Oh, 100%. There's a really big difference between NA and Korea. I think part of it is I didn't interact with that many Korean streamers, and I feel like all the players in high elo are all dedicated and trying to improve to get to that pro level. Whereas, in NA, a lot of the players are just trying to become streamers and make money and that type of thing. But also the difference in the multitude of players there. There are like 25 million active accounts on the Korean server, something like that. And that also obviously makes a really big difference compared to the low numbers in NA.
Some European pros and some North American pros have stated that the NA solo queue is just a fiesta. It's a catastrophe. Do you think that NA solo queue is actually a path to pro or useful in any way?
Well, it's difficult to stay consistent in an inconsistent environment, but solo queue plays a very just important role in improving as a player. You learn damage numbers, you learn the limits of your champion very well. Just because you don't learn team play, there are very many aspects of the game that you learn from solo queue.
Do you think the game quality from NA games and Korea games is so much different because the skill level?
Well, honestly, it's not even just the game quality. I think the approach that NA players have to solo queue is very poor. If somebody makes a mistake, they put a question mark in chat, or they say like haha or whatever, I feel like Korean players are much more focused, and just NA players in general are not as focused towards the outcome of the game. I feel like past 10-20 minutes they just get a little rambunctious and don't really focus on ending the game. They just kind of play for themselves instead of playing for a team cohesive unit and trying to end the game.
I'm really interested in the intellectual part of League of Legends, the big brain kind of stuff. What kind of games did you play before you played League? Like, I played Warcraft 3. That's why I was so drawn to League in the first place.
Yeah. Well, actually, I went to the state championships for chess 3 times, and I played chess quite frequently, but the main sport that I played was soccer, and I played that at a pretty high level. My club had tournaments all over the world, in fact, but some in California, some in England, but in terms of strictly video games that I played before League, I didn't really play any competitive games. I mostly played casual games. My mind hadn't really been open to the possibility of esports and competitive games yet. The biggest game that I played was probably the original Guild Wars. That was the one that probably had the biggest impact on me as an individual. I really enjoyed playing that game, and it was kind of like a bonding activity that I had with a couple of members of my family.
So when you first got into League, how did you get into it, and how did you feel about it then, and how do you feel about it now?
Yeah, when I first started playing League, my friend showed it to me, right? I got into it by a friend group, and we were all pretty shit at figuring out the game for ourselves. None of us had a leg up. We all started probably within a week of each other, and we were all kind of racing to get certain checkpoints, like level checkpoints, rank checkpoints. And at a certain point, a little past gold, the differences started to show. We all pretty much got gold around the same time, maybe within a couple weeks of each other. But they both stopped at gold, and I continued to climb and pursue higher ranks. But at that point in time, I could just play the game and improve without having to think about it. At this point in time, I play it strictly competitively. I don't really enjoy the game from a casual standpoint. I enjoy the game by improving and getting better and looking for small things to improve upon and better myself. That's where I find joy in the game.
So for me, the first barrier I hit was around Plat 2. The first time I hit Plat, I just climbed right through it and got to Plat 2, but I could not get past there. What was your first barrier, and how did you kind of get past it?
Yeah, I hit a barrier for around 3 months where I was bouncing up and down between Plat 4 and Plat 2 for a couple months. I think that was definitely that was probably my biggest barrier. I don't think, other than that, because at that time I hadn't really learned how to learn yet, and I was just kind of brainlessly playing the game without goals in mind. So I had just kind of gotten stuck in this elo where I thought I was better than I was, and I didn't have a proper mentality to improving. And so to get around that, I had to change it up a little bit, stop playing for a little bit, focus on improving, watching players that are better than me. And after a little bit, I climbed out of that rank.
Do you believe in auto win or auto lose characters or games? Like, for instance, whenever I see Shaco, I know that team just instant loss. Or if somebody has like Udyr on their team, like that character hard carries or pretty much he's worthless. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think there are any situations where you just auto lose a game or auto win a game. I think statistically, your chances will go up and down in solo queue. So I tend to use op.gg multi, just look up on my team. If they're all, like, if I have 3 support mains, that's going to be a dodge for me. If I have multiple jungle mains, that's going to be a dodge. If I have a support main that plays Janna Soraka and that is trying to play Thresh, that's probably going to be a dodge for me. If somebody's trying to first time a complicated champion, that's probably also going to be a dodge as well. Those are like the situations that I dodge in. I don't dodge when somebody picks a specific champion because they could be very proficient on it. It could be their one trick. It could be a champion that they're just unusually good at. And so having those statistics in front of you to analyze is very beneficial. I very much suggest everybody using op.gg multi and looking up your team beforehand, checking to see if there are a bunch of support mains that just don't know what they're doing in other roles, or jungle mains that don't know what they're doing in other roles, and just dodging that game. The -3 LP or -10 LP is always more worth than taking the MMR loss.
Can you tell me about the barrier that you hit when you were in Korea and you were kind of stuck in against the wall for the first time?
The peak elo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I hit Diamond 1 promos and I failed my Diamond 1 promos 6 times consecutively. So that was kind of a banger to my to my confidence there. Because I would keep getting into promos and I would just fail. At one point, I think I failed 2 or 3 promos in the same day. And it affected my confidence a bit for sure. But I did push through at the end and secure a higher ending position.
There's a lot of people who play like 1,000 games as one character to get to like Diamond 5 or higher platinum or something, or I don't know, maybe even higher. But what would you say their actual rank at the game is? Because in my opinion, they basically have learned the character well enough to get to the elo where you just coin flip over and over and just try to have a perfect early game.
Well, it's hard to say because that would be case by case basis generally. But definitely it would be significantly lower. But they know that champions in and outs. They know the exact damages. They know every single matchup and how to play that matchup. Even the really rare nuanced matchups like, I don't know, Mundo into fucking Timo or something like that. They know how to play every matchup to perfection, which is really good. That's pretty much the ideal way to play the game. And in terms of just spamming games out, I think generally that can be an effective strategy to climb. But at the same time, just limiting yourself to 5 games a day can also be an effective way to climb as well. Because if you put a limit on the amount of games that you have the ability to play in a specific day, your brain will automatically put a higher priority on it, and you will learn at an elevated rate. So sometimes the best way to climb is just to play less.
What do you think is considered high elo, and when do you consider games are just coin flip?
Probably it depends on the region, but in NA I would probably say like 300 LP Masters. And obviously it depends on your skill level, because, but a good player will be able, like Faker or Crown, these world champion level players, rookie, should be able to just hop into a 300 LP NA game and just pub stomp it. And if they're just tryharding, they should be able pretty much nearly solo carry the game on their back. But like if you put me into a 300 LP game, you might as well just flip a quarter and see who wins. And, it depends on what type of level player you are. But, if you're climbing through platinum, gold, diamond, and you're a pretty well-off player, you should be able to win 90% of your games, 85% of your games, if you're playing solo and you're playing to your full potential, trying to win every game.
Do you think there's a set amount of games you should play per day to like climb to whatever elo that you want to get to?
When I was playing in Korea, I never intentionally set a limit on myself. I generally do that when I'm playing in NA, because I have more activities that I can do to keep my body physically healthy, like working out, keeping my mental straight and good. But when I was playing in Korea, I was just trying to grind out as many games as possible. And in terms of aiming for MMR or LP, it's very difficult, but I try to ignore those completely. Ignore your rank. I even emailed Riot to ask if they could remove my rank from my profile, because it's just not healthy to think of your rank as your skill at all. Every player at a certain rank isn't going to be the same skill level. You take every player in Challenger, there's going to be a massive discrepancy in skills between those players. And so just try to focus on improving 2 or 3 specific skills in every game until you feel like you have a solid grasp on those skills. After that, move on to another 2 or 3 skills until you have a solid grasp on those skills. And slowly, you'll begin to expand your repertoire of mastered skills. And as a player, you will be better. Hands down, that is the truth. If you master these skills, you will become a better player. And so try not to focus on climbing to specific ranks. That can be a decent goal for end season, but I don't think that should be a week by week goal. Make it your goal as a weekly basis to master specific skills. Like, today if you're a laner, try to aim for 85 CS at 10 minutes every game or something like that, without being pushed out of lane. Try not to be pushed out of lane at the first recall every game. Maybe 70% of your games, try to push the enemy laner out or something like that. Focus on mini goals week by week to improve your play to a level where you master most of the skills in the game, and until you get to a team play environment. Obviously, team play is significantly different than solo play, But solo play, you can master every skill and become a very solid player.
This is my opinion. League is kind of like Naruto, where they're at the Great Ninja War, and Naruto has to give his chakra to the whole army to like basically make them useful. That's kind of like how League is. You have to be able to give the energy to your teammates to make them better, so they can make the enemies worse. When do you think you have the like energy, or when should you like reset or like take a break, or when to even come back from a break?
Well, I think coming back from a fresh night of sleep is always a good one, because all those feelings from yesterday and emotions from yesterday are kind of are gone for the most part. But you have to remember that it's never, you shouldn't feel the urgency of needing to climb. You know, you should feel the urgency, and you should get mad at yourself when you make mistakes, but you shouldn't feel the urgency needing to climb. That's generally a pretty unhealthy mentality to have for improving at League of Legends. But you know, these skills that you should be building upon instead of focusing on climbing is when you should be coming back. You should wake up every day and ignore your rank completely. No urgency for climbing. And focus on these skills, you know, like we talked about in the last point, where every day you wake up and you're like, okay, these are the 3 skills that I'm going to work on today, and have set numerical values for your goals. Not just like, oh, I want to get better at this. No, say I want to have 85 CS at 10 minutes. You need to have set numerical values, and that's the best way to climb or improve at anything for that matter. If you're trying to better yourself financially, better yourself intellectually, educationally, anything you want to improve upon, you can do so with this system.
So I heard Apto once say that if you're playing a meta champion and it gets nerfed, that you should just never play it again. And when you started climbing Korea, you played about 100 games as Kazakhs with like an 80% win rate, and then you got nerfed. You just never touched him again. You switched to Rengar, Graves, and like Xin Zhao. Do you like believe in that statement that if a champion gets nerfed when it's meta, that you should just not pick it up again?
Yeah. So yeah, the meta shifted a lot just during the couple months that I was in Korea. That was during the patches of the shitstorm, where every patch was just this massive patch that shifted the meta massively. So I started with Kazakhs because he's my comfort champion, this champion that I have hundreds and hundreds of games on, that I know how to play at a pretty high level in the majority of matchups. After they nerfed his R-Evolve, which at that point was pretty much his core identity, he became unplayable at a high level. Or not unplayable, but there were many picks that were just better than him. So I started playing Rengar and Graves because Graves was really strong in the meta, since he could CC Scuttlecrab with autos. And that was the patch that Scuttlecrab came out. So Graves was kind of like the top dog, and I already had a bunch of Graves games from Season 6. So I just kind of picked him up and started playing him a little bit. The Rengar, also kind of a comfort pick. Not quite strong in the meta, I would say. Maybe like lower A tier or upper B tier. But he's kind of more of a comfort pick for me. And I was doing pretty well on him. At the end there, I was kind of just spamming Camille Xin Zhao because that was the meta for high elo games. And even after the Bruiser changes where they nerfed the Sterix interaction with Triforce, Camille Xin Zhao was still exceptionally strong. You could easily turn the tides of a team fight with one well-placed Xin Zhao ulti or a good Camille pick. Or if you get ahead on Camille, you could easily just solo take over a game. And since the meta shifted so much, I had to adapt and play a bunch of different picks. But for the most part, I agree with Apto, where if a champion gets nerfed, you should just usually drop them in higher elo. In lower elo, I think you should just pick a champion up that is pretty stable and doesn't get changed often, that you enjoy. Learn that champion and climb to a point where you learn the game understand the game. Because if you keep changing champions, you'll be learning the champion instead of the game, and that's not good. You want to be learning the game.
Do you think that just being really good on a champion is not as good as playing a champion that's meta?
Well, I think for a player, being a good player incorporates many skills. One of the skills that is very, very important for being a good player is adaptability, specifically in the pro scene. But even in the solo queue scene, adaptability is pretty important, where picking up new champions quickly and not making them comfort picks, but being able to play them at a high level without many mistakes mechanically is very important. And so you just pick up one of those new strong or overpowered champions in the current meta, and you can begin to take over games with them instead of your comfort pick.
Do you ban like one OP champion, or do you ban a champion that like you think your teammates are gonna feed on, or do you ban a champion that you think is gonna counter yours in the game?
Well, if it's not your role and you don't specifically play the champion, after you OP.GG multi everybody on our team, if nobody's playing that OP champion, yeah, just definitely ban them. So for example, I don't really play Talia that much, so I just ban Talia every game. She's very annoying, very mobile, just in general, a pretty big nuisance to jungle against. So I just ban her every game. And so then that leaves open the overpowered picks that I'm more comfortable with and closes out options for them.
Do you enjoy the meta, and what do you think are some of the problems with the game?
I think I enjoy the meta right now. It's pretty diverse, but you know, in general, just there are always going to be problems with the game, and depending on the meta, there will be different size problems. But I really enjoy it right now. It's diverse, early impact meta, and just in general, a pretty fun meta to play in, to be honest. The gold funneling, the system that they used to like kind of shut that down was honestly a very temporary fix. They're just patching the hole in the boat until they can bring the boat into dock and fix it up permanently. But, you know, because every time you get ahead as a jungler, getting 4 gold from those caster minions honestly feels like complete shit. And but I think if they add a system where you can track if you have the most gold as a jungler, so you're aware of the fact that you will only get 4 gold, that would be very helpful. Because you know, it's hard to tell whether or not you have the most gold sometimes, and until you hit a minion and you're like, shit, I only got 4 gold from that. But I think in general, the way Riot's going with the game is pretty good. I like the early impacts, the early game centric gameplay is very fun to play in solo queue, so I don't mind it that much.
Do you think that voice communication would help solve some of the problems with like people one-tricking and not be able to climb on other characters, or like, I don't know, just fix solo queue a little bit so it raises the level of the average player?
Yeah, well, I don't think that adding voice comms to solo queue in general would be very good. It would generally just be like people arguing over like what call to do and be like, no, your call was wrong or whatever, you know, even though neither of their calls was right. Unlike CSGO, which is, you know, a much more linear game, like, oh, we go A or we go B. And it doesn't require as much coordination to pull off specific plays. You know, it would only be beneficial in a very high level environment. So if Riot does end up coming out with a private server for high elo players, say like Challenger Plus, including Pro and Academy, where it's just a full tryhard server, I think 100% they should implement voice communication. But outside of that, pings can be a very effective tool for communication. Pretty much every ping has multiple uses, and there is a language that you learn when you play a lot and specific pings, you know. an assist me ping on the wave can mean, oh, hold this wave for me, or push this wave for me, or an assist me ping on the tower will mean, oh, we're gonna dive this tower when the wave crashes, and your jungler will path up. You know, it's not like static. The whole ping system is very dynamic and can be used for a lot of different usages.
With how many people play this game and want to make it like a professional or go professional in the LCS, do you think it's actually even like possible, just with even how many spots there are in the LCS itself or like academy?
Yeah, and since it's so new, there aren't as many teams developed. Like, for example, if you're a high-level football player, it is significantly easier to get a scholarship or become a part of the NFL, as opposed to becoming a professional league player. It's extremely competitive. There are a lot of players that want to, and not that many slots available to players. But that being said, there are positions outside of player positions that are available to people that have different skill sets. So if you're better at analyzing the game, you can 100% just become a coach. And although obviously having a different role on the team and not as much glory is very different, but still a position in esports nonetheless. My personal reasons for pursuing the LCS is the competition. I love being I love being the spotlight, not like center of attention, but I love the competition and the bond that you form with teams. I've been a part of team play my entire life, and the bond that you form with a team of 4 other people that you live together is just an unbreakable bond for the rest of your life. Even though you argue, that's just a part of the esport environment. Anything that you do at an extremely high level that's competitive, people will have differing opinions, and you just have to talk about them and get those opinions out there to talk with your team and work out what the best strategy is to win the game. Who should be your shot caller, and if somebody has a differing opinion from the shot caller, you talk about it in VOD review. You don't just let it go, and those debates can get pretty heated. But I love the glory. I'm all in it for being on stage and winning in front of thousands of people with a team of people that I love being around. That's the reason that I want to be in esports.
Knowing that you want to be an LCS player, how do you find ways to still have fun with the game?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been playing for so long. I'm not sure if it's just I've been playing for so long. I don't find that much enjoyment strictly from the game anymore. All the enjoyment that I get is from improving and getting better, getting closer to my goals. That being said, when they come out with a new champion with fun, intriguing mechanics, it can be compelling to play, and I do enjoy that, of course. But strictly from a game sense, I don't generally enjoy it that much, because I try to take it as seriously as I can, and the fun aspect has kind of just dwindled away for me.
Do you think in like a competitive scrims environment where like everybody's giving their all, it's just really high quality, and you got like games where you really felt like it was tough for you to like just battle for a little bit, do you think you would enjoy the game then?
Yeah, I think for sure after that, I don't know if you've heard the concept of loss aversion, but it's basically that when you lose, it's much more impactful than when you win. So when I come away from a loss and I know that I could have done significantly better, and that the loss is in part due to a mistake that I made or a play that I didn't make, and we lost because of that. I think that's really impactful, and I come away from that incredibly motivated to win and improve, and pretty emotional, pretty thrown about. But yeah, I think for sure you break down and you analyze what happened during that game and what you could have done better, just from a purely analytical standpoint. And definitely when you come away from a very competitive environment, it motivates you to improve. Always. Competition is almost always the driving factor to improvement, or in anything. Think war, for example. In World War One, the aviation improved dramatically during the war. Basically went from paper mache to like biplanes in a couple of years, and that is in Seoul due 90% in part to the war and the competition that the war brings. So competition always drives improvement.
Also, on top of going to Korea, you were coached by Last Shadow. Is there anything that you learned from him that kind of stuck with you that, I don't know, you might not have realized beforehand?
Yeah, I think I can analyze the game better. Cause and effect was kind of a pretty big thing for me. Not using your flash in specific scenarios, despite being able to secure a kill and a significant minion lead. And because of specific matchups, you can't really use your flash in those scenarios. But I think analyzing cause and effect is probably the biggest thing that I walked away from with Nick.
Do you ever get worried trying to be a professional League of Legends player that one day they might just like patch the game and just kill it, and then Fortnite comes up and now that's the biggest esport? Do you think it's even worth trying to get into esports because they could just die off of one patch and then there's a new big esport?
Yeah. At any point. Yeah, I mean, that's always something that's kind of scary. But the thing is, once you improve to the highest level of a competitive environment like League, you can just pick up something else and instantly be one of the best in that area. And so I'm not really that afraid. Like, if another game comes out that is, just as competitive and compels me to be the best, then I will pick it up and I will pursue a career in that game and that esport. In terms of Fortnite, I don't really think it has the proper molding to be like an esport. I don't think it's dying, but I think it's more for, a casual audience. It's not designed yet to be an esport. Like, obviously League, Dota, CSGO, 5v5, they're very designed specifically to be an esport. I don't think Battle Royale has the particular makeup of an esport, the composition for it. But I think they can work with it, and I'm kind of excited to see where it goes, to be honest. I mean, $100 million prize pool is pretty massive. I believe that's the prize pool that is available for this year's Fortnite tournaments. I'm not 100% certain because I don't keep up with the scene, but yeah, I think I'm pretty interested to see where it goes professionally. And you can honestly pick up any game you want to if you're at the highest level of another game. And I mean, it's happened so many times before where pros just switch over games and they become one of the highest level players in that game. And maybe that game even clicks more with them. There's just something about that particular game that their brain can analyze and process more quickly than the other game that they played. So I'm not that concerned about League dying if it ends up happening, which, I mean, everything has its end. But you can totally just pick up whatever new game comes out and pursue that if it is your goal.
Do you think that being first, like I'm a Cutie Pie and Scara, that they retain more viewers because they got the initial viewers?
Oh yeah, without a doubt in my mind. I mean, think Ninja. Ninja just grew in popularity as Fortnite grew in popularity. He was the biggest streamer that was on the platform that played Fortnite at a high competitive level. So, without a doubt in my mind, if you are the first person to achieve a high ranking in this new game, people will watch you. I mean, it's not even a question. People will watch you if you are the first person to be good at something. All right. Yeah, all right. No problem, man.
Hey, if you stuck around to the end and are hearing this message, wow, thanks. It's like a 30-minute video. Um, so I'm gonna keep trying to push more and different kinds of content out and do them better, because this could have been a lot better with the audio. And oh my god, I can't believe I didn't catch my own audio, so I had to re-record it all. Just ridiculous. But I think the value is still there, and I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. Love you. Bye.